Welcome to your September 9th edition of Off the Mat. Guys, we have a lot in store for you this week. We're going to recap UFC 134 Rio, and we're going to talk about the Strikeforce Grand Prix, the third round coming up right after this. Welcome back, guys. I'm Bernard Oliver. That's John Urcuyo. John, how you doing this week, man?
Doing fantastic. I'm excited about the new set. It's looking pretty fly.
Man, this set is amazing, right? We worked really hard to get these graphics and these things up back for you guys. This set, man, you just got to look at it and take it in, don't you?
That's right. Just soak it in, all that excitement, see all these fights, all the reminiscent of all the great fights that we've seen. Just coming off, we saw Rio. Rio was a bunch of just knockout after knockout. Didn't seem like it was one of the shortest cards I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, definitely did not disappoint. They had to throw a lot of prelims in there towards the end of that card because there's so many knockouts and just quick fights that went on and on. But speaking of Rio, guys, last time we were at Buffalo Wild Wings on location. Very successful show. Great partnership that we have with them. We'll speak on that more later. But we're going to get to the card that we previewed. John and I went 4-1, by the way, on that card. I must say, we only went 4-1 because we had to pick Louise Kane on the spot. I mean, and he's the only Brazilian to lose on the night. We had to pick it on the spot. So, whatever. We'll take 4-1. Okay. Jeremy could not be with us tonight. Jeremy Hurt is usually here with us. He's coming down with a little bit of sickness, but I'm sure he wouldn't want to be here after the record that he had. I think he was, 1-5 or something like that? I don't know. He went against a lot of the odds, and sometimes you go against the odds and it doesn't pay off. But
probably causes the illness.
Yeah, little jitters before the show or something like that.
Sick over the fact.
But anyway, going into this card, Louise Kane versus Mr. Nedkov coming in to Brazil, to Louise Kane's home, and upsetting the whole, just the betting rungs and everybody in Vegas, everybody in Brazil, they were booing when he was celebrating the win over the fight. Nedkov looked amazing in this fight, though. Kane looked good, too, until he, got that TKO at the end. But Kane looked very good in this fight.
Well, Nedkov, he came in, and I'm certain that he prepared for this fight a lot more. Kane, I think, relying on the fact that he was in Brazil, feeding off of that, probably underestimated his opponent, and then when it got down to fight time, he just wasn't prepared, and you saw the outcome. Nedkov just took over, gets the knockout win. You could see it in Kane's face after the loss. He just couldn't believe it. He let down a lot of people, a lot of friends and family that I'm sure were around watching.
He was very hurt after that loss. He sat down for a while. It's not that he really got knocked out while he sat down. He sat down and, he kind of put his hands and put his head in his hands, and he kind of, was, very disappointed. He felt where the fans were coming from. And even when they stood up at the end of the fight, he told the fans, he said, "Hey, you guys, clap for Nedkov. He beat me. Don't boo him. He did a good job." And like you said, though, Nedkov came out ready. I mean, he was undefeated, still undefeated. Kane, he looked really good in the fight when he was throwing his combos. When he didn't throw his combos, he looked like he was a fish out of water. He got rushed up against the fence at the end of that fight, and he got TKO'd when he got rushed. He did a lot of retreating, which, you shouldn't do that when you're in a fight. You shouldn't retreat. That's one thing you're always taught, never to back up. You can give ground here and there, but don't. He kind of ran a couple of times. It's like if that cage wouldn't have been there, I feel like he would have ran out of, off the coast of Brazil somewhere or something like that. So, Kane looked very good in the fight, though. I'm expecting a lot of things out of him in the future. This is this is probably about the second time I've seen him fight. I'm expecting a lot of things out of Louise Kane. John?
Well, and definitely having a loss like that, especially in front of a home crowd where he's expecting a win, expecting to come out and almost dominate a fight, but, has a loss. Now you set back. Now you have to go back and regroup and find out what kind of fighter you really are and where you're going to move on to go on with the rest of your career.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Kane, we're looking out for you. Nedkov, man, he throws very wild punches. Not wild, but he throws a lot of haymakers, a lot of punches that, to a crisp fighter like Kane really shouldn't have gotten through because, his jab probably should have made it before those swooping, haymakers and those swooping overhands and hooks that he was throwing. But when he landed one, he was swinging for the fences. And, it ended up working out for him. He caught him a couple times, got him retreating, pushed him up against the fence, and it was over and done with. So I'm on the lookout for Netkov in the future. I think that was my first time seeing Netkov fight. Very impressed with that guy, very impressed. But moving on to our next fight, one that I was very happy about, Brendan Schaub versus the Big Nog, man. Big Nog, Big Nogueira, whatever you want to call him. They kind of have the same exact name, which is weird, Minotauro. But yeah, Big Nog came out and impressed the Brazilian crowd. After that Kane loss, he came out and showed that he still got it at 35 years old. Brendan Schaub losing the Legend Killer title that he had. I know John was a little sour about that title, not thinking he deserved it, and it got proved. 35-year-old Antonio Rodrigo came in and destroyed the guy. I mean, he didn't destroy him, but he definitely outboxed him. The whole time he outboxed him. His defense was on point. His U's were on point. His weave game, all that stuff was there, and his punches were so crisp.
As we have seen in Nogueira's career, he goes, he gets his butt whooped, he has a poor fight, and then he recovers, and you see what real ability he has. He comes in, prepares well. Schaub, yeah, he thought he was a little bit too big for his britches, already claiming that he's the Legend Killer, and Nogueira just took that, and I think he put it right in the gas tank, used it as fuel, and just burned right past him. You saw he had, the support of an entire nation behind him. He's a legend down there. So I mean, I want to say I was surprised, but I wasn't. I knew he was going to come out prepared, and obviously we saw that Schaub wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, Schaub. It's one thing I said when I was giving my prediction for this fight. Schaub may have knocked out Krokop, but if you look at that fight, he wasn't exactly winning on the cards. To me, he wasn't winning on the cards when he fought Krokop. If he hadn't got that knockout, he was bloodied, he was beaten, and he got that knockout. I'm not going to say it's lucky, but I am going to say that fighting a fighter like Nogueira, who is a proven boxer, veteran boxer, you're not going to stand up with somebody like that. You need to try and put him up against the fence and take him to the ground. And I said if Brendan tries to stand up with him, there's going to be the possibility, a very strong 99.9% possibility that Nogueira was going to come out and he was going to knock him out. And, hey, that's what happened. I mean, you can't chalk it up to age. He was also said, Nogueira was said to be in the best shape of his life. You don't want to walk into that fight calling yourself a Legend Killer. But
absolutely not. And if you look at Schaub, he's a young guy, an up-and-comer in the UFC, a great athlete, but he's fought, younger men. He hasn't fought somebody with a lifetime of MMA experience like Nogueira, somebody who can sit around, wait for his chances to open up, and take advantage of it. Schaub just went in there. You see him falling behind in the Krokop fight, like you said, probably losing on the cards, because he doesn't know how to stick it in. He does have knockout power, which has saved him in several of his fights. But, when you get to more experienced guys, some of these, veterans that know how to outlast a fighter and move forward, picking their spots and then finally finding the time to attack, he's going to run into trouble, and we saw that he did.
Right. Well, that's going to do it for our first segment, guys. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk more UFC 134. And don't forget, later in the show, we're going to go into that Strikeforce heavyweight Grand Prix right after the break.
Your campus.
For UATV News, I'm Anissa Ibini.
Your news.
Thanks for joining us for this Thursday night edition of UATV News.
Your station.
Reporting for UATV, I'm Lauren Hardaway.
UATV News.
What would you do with $500?
Oh, I would buy a KitchenAid mixer.
New snow blades. Go skiing.
I'm gonna spend it like fixing my car.
Go on a road trip, I would think.
Take a little mini vacation.
I think I'd go shopping.
Throw a party.
Yeah, just a normal party.
Everyone's invited.
Would you give it up for a single cigarette?
I would say no.
No way.
No, not at all.
You could be fined up to $500 for smoking one cigarette at the University of Arkansas. Is it worth it?
Life takes you places, from back roads and small towns to busy freeways and big cities. You never know where you're going to end up, and getting there is half the adventure. But where you go and what you do depends on the decisions you make today. One of the most important decisions you can make is where to go to college. Nothing can take you further in life than a good education. So when you're ready to accelerate your life, come to the university that puts you first, the University of Arkansas. The adventure is just beginning.
High school kids just wanting to get it on. Apparently what he does for money is make children. We learned that apparently segways are really important. In Tron, they ghost ride the whip. Neil Diamond, I like to call him the Jewish Elvis. Fridays at 9, I'm here, love me, please, not so late.
Welcome back to Off the Mat, guys. I'm Bernard Oliver, and as always, I'm joined by John Urcuyo. John, how you doing? You still good?
Still good.
Still good. Jeremy, as I said before, could not be here with us tonight. Jeremy, you're here in spirit. Going into this next fight, Barboza is one of my favorite up-and-coming fighters. He's very explosive and very fast. We have Ross Pearson versus Edson Barboza. And coming into this fight, I didn't really know what to expect. Ross Pearson is a very good fighter, very good wrestler. And Barboza, being who he is, just powerful and very, very quick. Jose Aldo quick, I might add. Didn't really know what to expect coming into this fight. Had to take Barboza just because of his recent fights that I've seen. His likeness to Jose Aldo. Had to take him in that fight. John, I believe you took Jose too. Jose. Edson, you took Edson too, didn't you?
I did.
And yeah, man, Ross Pearson and Edson Barboza, I don't know if I should say fight of the night. Would you give them fight of the night?
It was absolutely one of the most entertaining fights of the night. And
definitely.
When it comes to the heart factor, both of them definitely at the top of the list. It was exciting. The whole fight. It was a bruiser fight. They stood up almost the entire, all 3 rounds. Barboza, not surprised that he came out on top. I really like Barboza. He's a young talent. He's someone that Dana and the UFC are trying to push. One of these younger fighters, trying to replace some of the legends. Their careers coming to an end. But it was just entertaining, and you got to give it to Ross Pearson. Stood in there, and he fought with him the whole fight. Battled out like a true warrior.
One of the things I love about Edson Barboza is that they're not, and Dana White and their relationship, they're not really throwing him these tomato cans, these sack of potatoes, or whatever you want to call those guys that just get thrown at people so they can get easy wins. He's getting thrown people like Anthony Giocani and Ross Pearson. Ross Pearson lost that fight at the end of the 3rd round. That fight was neck to neck that whole time, which is why it's one of the greatest fights that came on that card that night. It was neck and neck the whole time. Barboza pulled out the 1st round. Pearson pulled out the 2nd round. It came down to that last 30 seconds in the 3rd round. And Barboza hit a pretty nasty, I think it was a 3-hit combo, opened up the right side, opened up the right side of his face, and made that shiner get even bigger over there. He was looking like Frankenhominic over there for a little bit. But yeah, man, that like I said, one of the greatest fights to be on the card. Barboza's explosiveness was kind of met with a lot of Pearson's explosiveness. He threw a lot of kicks, a lot of leg kicks, which I think it might have caught Barboza off guard a little bit. People don't usually try to leg kick with Barboza because Barboza's leg kicks are like Jose Aldo's. Jose Aldo makes people tap out from leg kicks. So Pearson coming in with those leg kicks was really, I was surprised, and I was happy to see that. He didn't try to take it to the ground. He wanted to give the fans a fight and standing up, and that's what they did the whole time.
Absolutely, and stood in there. Impressed by both of these fighters' ability to take punches, stay in, stay tight, and keep fighting. Pearson wouldn't back down. Barboza also kept the pressure on. And, to come down into Rio and make a performance like that when you're surrounded by everyone who is rooting for your opponent, I think Ross Pearson really came out and made a fantastic, display. Unfortunately, like you said, in the last bits of the 3rd round, that's when he lost the fight. But entertaining nonetheless. I think that he's really made a stamp, showing the fans, showing people involved in MMA that he is worth seeing, he is worth putting on pay-per-views, and he's worth marketing.
The only thing I really wanted to see is I wanted to see his wrestling. You guys, if you watch Off the Mat, I'm not a big fan of Brits because a lot of the British guys just want to stand there and bang. You got, Paul Daly is one of those guys who'll take it somewhere else besides standing up and bang, but he loves to bang. And then you got Ross Pearson, who's a great wrestler, but he can stand and bang with you. See, I like people that can go different directions in the fight. I don't want to see, I like Dan Hardy. He's a face for the UFC. I love Dan Hardy. But when you stand up and bang with somebody and you try to bang with them and they take you to the ground and wrestle you and you can't do anything, you're just stuck there like, really wish I wasn't on the ground right now with this heavy guy sitting on top of me. I don't like that. I can't stand that. A lot of Brits are like that. I mean, you got people like Bisping who are well-rounded. You got people like Daly, like I said. And now Pearson gets added to that list. I think it kind of changes. People like me, it definitely changed my view on British fighters because you have people that can come out and do more than one thing in the ring. It's mixed martial arts. You have to have a mix of skills, which is what Pearson came out and showed. I'm on the lookout for him now. He's definitely probably one of my favorite fighters that I've seen in the UFC, especially out of those young guys coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing is these British fighters, they have been known for standing up, brawling, like backyard fighting. But now definitely. The sport is evolving. You've got athletes that you can't do that with. They're going to find a way to take you to the ground. They're going to attack your legs. They're going to find a way to push you against the fence. They're not just going to stand up there and let you work on your most strong-pointed suit of your athletic ability. Mm-hmm. So, if they don't change, they'll die and they'll be out. They won't be able. You have to evolve along with the sport.
Apparently, unless your name is Dan Hardy, you just you get a tweet that says, "I like guys who bang, but they lose." I don't understand it. Anyway, moving on to the next fight. Shogun Griffin 2 was I don't know. I can't really say it was exciting because Griffin. When I was going looking over the film after the event, it was a lot different than when I was watching the event. When I was watching the event, I was looking at Griffin like, man, why aren't you throwing any punches? Why aren't you kicking? Why aren't you doing something? When I went and looked back at the film, he actually threw a lot of kicks. I'm not used to seeing Griffin throw as many kicks as he did. So my view kind of changed on that a little bit. But, we talked about it in the show from Buffalo Wild Wings. We talked about, Griffin is at that point where he's kind of like, man, I have a degree in something that gets me, money. It's not like I'm doing this for the money. I don't know if I have the fire left to do it for the fighting. So, I'm kind of just, doing it right now. I'm not in his head and I can't say what's going on in his head, but, he kind of just has that feeling, like you said last time on the show, that, he's kind of just losing that fire.
Well, and a tough fight to come back to. You go from getting completely embarrassed by Anderson Silva, then you move on to Rua, who is, a fight that he won, but into Rio. You're going down to Rio. He's got so many other things on his mind. Like you said, he's lost the fire, the passion of being in the octagon, which is usually the biggest drive for fighters, to be competitive, to be at the top of their game. So much pressure on him. You saw that, he did throw a lot of kicks, but he kept his distance. I feel like he was afraid of getting that early knockout or knockdown or put himself in a bad position. And, you see that Rua, he took control very quickly. It's unfortunate. Forrest Griffin, one of my favorite fighters from the beginning. UFC has built a huge following because of him just coming off of being the first, Ultimate Fighter champion. It's unfortunate to see his mind and his focus, fade away from the UFC. He's definitely one of the cornerstones of the entire company.
I definitely agree that he had a couple things on his mind. I actually saw the next day he went and flew right out of Rio as soon as that match was, I guess as soon as he was okay after the knockout. He flew right out and went to go see his new baby that was born while he was down in Rio. So I feel like he had a lot of things on his mind. Maybe it is time that Forrest walk away. Like you said, when he does, if he does soon, he's going to be missed. He's definitely one of my favorite fighters also. And when he walks away, it's going to be like, Matt Hamill when he walked away, or his name leaves me right now, walked away after his win a couple months ago. I can't even think of his name right now. But it's just gonna hit you like one of those things like, man, that's one of those guys I used to watch when I first got in the UFC, and now he's gone.
And Forrest Griffin, such a candid athlete, that's why people fall in love with him. He's true, he's in your face, he's honest about everything, and you can't fault him for that, being honest, kind of leaving the sport, it's fading away, his desire to be one of the most elite in his class. But you can't be upset with Forrest Griffin. Put forth a great career, and we're talking about him like he's dead already. But after 2 big losses, that's definitely gonna set deep in him. He's gonna have to make a decision where he goes from here. If he's gonna try and get back, try and find that fire again, or he may step away. Maybe find a role like announcing some kind of Joe Rogan spot. But hopefully he'll stay around the sport because he will definitely be missed when he goes.
Well, that's we're gonna go into another break here, guys. We're getting having a great show, very successful up here. I mean, how could you not like us?
It's the set. It's gotta be
great.
the set.
No, it's not the set. It's us. Anyway, when we come back, we're gonna go into the main event, guys. Anderson Silva versus Yushin Okami right after the break.
Your campus.
For UATV News, I'm Anissa Ebini.
Your news.
Thanks for joining us for this Thursday night edition of UATV News.
Your station.
Reporting for UATV, I'm Lauren Hardaway.
UATV News.
I'm ASG President Billy Fleming. Welcome to Game Day at the University of Arkansas.
We are the state's flagship institution, yet we've only just begun to grow.
This university offers more than 200 degree programs and more than 100 fields of study. This football program has been built by Coaching Giants, the home of 19 All-Americans.
Princeton Review has said we're among its most affordable schools.
All while we live in beautiful Fayetteville, Arkansas.
It's not hard to see why we're so proud to boast 100 years of Razorback tradition.
Welcome back to the glorious, beautiful, lovely Off the Mat. I'm Bernard Oliver, and that's John Arcuyo. John, you still doing good?
Fantastic.
I'm going to ask you that a lot. Are you okay?
I'm
good?
doing fine.
You doing good?
I'm doing good.
Are you okay now?
I'm really excited, though. This set has got me a little juiced up.
I know, man. I feel like we're in the ESPN headquarters right now. Like it looks amazing. Just, kind of take that in back there. It's beautiful. I love it. But anyway, getting back into this fight card, we're going to finish off this card, guys, and we're going to try and get to that Strikeforce heavyweight Grand Prix. We're going to do this really quickly. Going to give it a little speed run here. Anderson the Spider Silva versus Yushin Thunder Okami. I might want to call him Pillowcase Okami after that fight. No other way to kind of bend over and take it than what he did. I mean, sorry for the kiddies out there, but that's what he did. He got in the fetal position, and he told was it Dean? Herb Dean was doing that fight. He said, "Hey Herb,
save me.
Hey, please call this fight because I'm done. I don't. What am I doing here? I don't belong in this ring right now." Anderson Silva came out and did what he always does. Came out, tested him for a round. Came out in the second round, turned the juice on, and ended the fight. Completely ended the fight. He dropped his hands, gave him the Ali jab, sat him down one time, got back up. He was already done after that. He had given up after that. So Yushin's coming in there scared, stiff. He's not moving his head. He came in the ring not moving his head. Maybe that's what he always does. I don't know. But he came in the ring not moving his head, just kind of really stiff, just walking forward into Anderson Silva. And he got knocked down that first time. Then he started backing up. And it was like, well, now I don't know what to do because Anderson's jabs are, destructive. And they sat me down. Gets forced up against the cage. Anderson catches him with an uppercut. It's pretty much over after that. Anderson really didn't have to do anything after that. But you got to finish the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And he comes in here. We see our usual Anderson Silva, feels it out for about 2, 3 minutes, finds a spot, attacks, and Okami he had no idea. He got steamrolled. He wasn't even ready for it. Once those shots came in and he felt them, he felt the ground, then he realized, yeah, what am I doing here? I shouldn't be here. I don't want to get up and turn up like Forrest, round 2. Another highlight reel for Anderson Silva's, illustrious career. Unfortunate to see someone, kind of turn their back, kind of give up like that. No one but Okami knows what was going through his head at that time. But couldn't expect anything less from Anderson Silva. Put on a show in Rio. Made it happen. What can you say?
And I don't want Okami to be, if he ever watches this show, I don't want him to be mad when he sees it. He does seem like a very angry person, a little bit. Maybe he just does that when he gets in the
big.
Yeah.
Big.
He's 205.
He's Japanese.
He's not even 205. He's like 185. He's not big. Whatever. I'm not worried about that. I am worried about him whooping me because
I'm not 205. I'll tell you that.
He's an MMA athlete, you know what I mean? But other than that, yeah, like you said, man, he kind of just rolled over and, like I said, got in the fetal position, and he gave up. There's no defense. There's nothing. Anderson's punches were getting through, and he's on the ground, and he rolled over and gave up. I mean, what else can you say about that? Another one added to the highlight reel for Anderson Silva. But I guess we can move on into the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix. Have a little bit of time here, so we're going to kind of speed through this. Third round, the Grand Prix, as you know, Alistair Overeem is out. He's now going to be in the UFC. We'll get to that in just a second. Josh Barnett coming off of that great wrestling. You got Karatanov with those great hands. It's a very good stylistic matchup, as Jeremy Hurt would say. Going into Silva, though, Silva's fighting a replacement in Cormier. I hope I said that right, Cormier. He's undefeated, I believe, right?
That's right.
He's like I said, he's undefeated. He's a great fighter coming into this fight. All-American wrestler coming in against somebody like Silva. Don't think you're gonna wrestle Silva. He's a very big man. Now, if you're trying to knock him out, I can see you standing back, throwing some punches and getting it in there. Wrestling him, that didn't work out too well for the last couple of opponents. So I'm not gonna see a wrestler beating him. I'm gonna have to take Silva on that. So, John?
Agreed. Silva, that's what I see him as. Just he's too much to deal with. His length, his strength. Taking him to the ground, it's not happening.
Yeah, he's just gargantuan. I think a person would weigh as much as one of his legs. Like, seriously, he's a big man. I just don't see anybody doing that. He's got that caveman chin. He's just a big man. I don't see anybody except the great Khali maybe coming over from the WWE or something like that. I don't know. But guys, we're gonna run through a couple more topics here. We got about 2 minutes left. Diaz, man. Diaz wrecking one of the greatest fights ever to be scheduled. I just can't believe that. I can't believe Diaz would do that.
Well, it's just unfortunate. He's had problems throughout his entire MMA career. Him and Dana White have been butting heads, since he's been there. It's unfortunate that the fans are the ones suffering and not going to be able to see this, this huge fight that could have been.
That's right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week on Off the Mat, guys. Make sure you hit us up on Facebook at /OffTheMatTV. Check us out on Twitter at OffTheMatTV. I'm Bernard Oliver. That's John Cleo. Until next time, we'll see you at the fights.